You guys go, what up? Okay, we're live. What up?
We're live. What's up?
All right, I thought we were gonna do. I was hoping we were gonna do the Budweiser thing where I was gonna go, "What's up?" and then you guys go, "What's up?" Anyways, here we are live. We're talking about advertising laws in the state of Michigan.
Interesting.
So there's tons of confusion around this, and every association seems to have their own interpretation. Like, for example, some MLSs don't allow you to put your name on the photos that you post on the MLS.
Right.
Like, for example, I think it was Jackson Realtors, the Jackson Association just announced no names advertised on the photos at all. You had West Michigan, the Lakeshore Association. They initially said no, but the Greater Regional Alliance of Realtors here in the Grand Rapids area said yes. And so then they had agents fighting over what was legal and what was not legal. And finally, WMLAR said, okay, fine, you can put your names on there. So it's just a mess, and we're all trying to navigate it together. Advertising rules.
Yeah, especially now that we're banded together. Like, so many associations are now having reciprocation, and we're sharing, and so it looks so different no matter where you log in.
You're exactly correct. So let's talk about Flex MLS, which is going to cover a lot of people who are part of MISHRIC. Jackson is now a part of MISHRIC. So so if I list a property and I'm a member of, let's just say I'm a member of WMLAR, but I list a property in Jackson, I can have my name on that photo.
Right. And I'm a member of GMAR in Metro Detroit, and we have reciprocation with Jackson. We don't allow you to have your name. We allow the broker's name. So when I see that, it's like, what's
why is their name on there? How does this person get away with that? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And the same with Battle Creek, they put their sign right in their photos and their name in the listing card.
Allow you to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. Some blur, some MLSs blur the sign, right?
Yep.
Some MLSs don't allow you to put pictures of humans in photos. And so, and this is just on the MLS. And so then you talk about signage, you talk about, I don't know, how about a jacket? What if I got my name on my jacket? What's the rules there? What about a pen? There's advertising rules that branch to all these types of things. And we're here to try and navigate it. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a really perfect system, because let's say I'm branding a small pen. Well, I'm supposed to get my name, my broker address, you name it on this pen.
Yep.
It's a logo. And so what you'll find is that if challenged, and by the way, how advertising laws work with us as being realtors here, it is not really an advertising in terms of like putting names on photos. That's an MLS thing. But in terms of the state regulations on realtors and advertising, it's not really an MLS's job to police that. So when you call in on someone's illegal sign or someone's illegal billboard or someone's illegal whatever it might be, and you call your MLS to complain, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, hey, you've got to take it up with Lara.
Right.
And then what happens is you go and you submit a complaint at Lara, and Lara chooses if they're going to look into it or not look into it. And that's how it works. And it's in advertising complaints are like 99.9% agents tattling on agents. So it's like an agent against agent argument. The public is not submitting complaints on advertising to Lara. It's usually agent against agent almost every single time.
Yeah. Yep. And wasn't the whole purpose initially was to make sure the public knew? This was a public thing, right?
Yes.
We wanted to make sure that the public knew whose listing it was and who the broker was, because there was a lot of misinformation about whose name is really who's in charge.
Yes. So you have a fight over how large the broker name needs to be. You have a fight over how large the address or broker address or broker phone number is on the sign. You have a fight over all of it. Now, and furthermore, you have an argument over whether or not I can use a legal name, I can use a nickname, or I can use a team name on a sign. Right. So there's a lot of variations here. And I guess what I'm really trying to say, guys, is that if I could fit it all into one tiny box for you, or one tidy little box for you, and I was like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, I would give it to you. The issue is that it's not that simple. And we're seeing how applied to real life, it's just not as tidy as we would all like it to be. I would love for Michigan Realtors to step in and offer more guidance for all the associations and try and rally the troops and get us all on the same page. But let's go back in time real quick to, I think it was 2016, when our advertising rules largely did not exist outside of, you have to have your broker name on the sign or advertising, and you have to have a broker address or phone number on signs. Well, 5-Star was all about making the agent name as large as possible and the broker name as small as possible. Mm-hmm. So in 2017, when they started announcing these new advertising laws, we actually sent out a petition to try and actually reduce the size of the broker that they were recommending. They were recommending that the broker name needed to be 100% the size of the agent name. And we were advocating for like 25% or 50%, which some states have rules where it's the broker name needs to be at least 25% or 50%, not 100%. So we're on the more extreme side of advertising here in Michigan.
Okay.
Now, if you have any questions about advertising, just reach out to Mary Scalzity, reach out to me. Or if you reach out to one of our broker support team members, they'll probably just direct you back to the marketing team anyways. So that's always a good place to start. I want to share my screen though, and share with you guys this, what they released in 2017. So they made a rule where the agent's name, I'm going to read test number 1. The height of the block containing the name of the licensee may not exceed the height of the block containing the name of the firm. Okay. Before I read test number 2, I'm going to show you how that looks now. This is called block height testing. Okay. Right here. So you see here that Acme Brokerage right here. So picture 5-Star. Mm-hmm. And then picture Real Estate Leaders. Okay. See how they're using a 4.5-inch block height? They're using the primary name plus the tagline as the block height.
I see.
And now look at Simone licensee. So you would, if you glanced at this, you would say, well, the font in her name is larger than the brokerage. The answer is yes, you're correct. But we're not using font height in this test. We're using block height in this test. Okay. Here's another look at block height. Now you have a little swirl through the middle. Okay. And here's the Acme Brokerage Capital City firm. It's a 6.25-inch block height. And up here, you have a Simone licensee at 5.5 inches. That's also legal. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it's within the boundaries of the block height. Here's another block height example. Now look at that, Kim. That is way larger than Acme Brokerage, right?
Right, but down there it's saying they're equal.
Because it's block height.
Yep.
Now the other thing I want you to see here is it's a team name. Mm-hmm. Interesting, huh? Yep. So now and this is released by Michigan Realtors. The next test is going to be point size. So this one is the point size of the majority of letters in the name of the licensee may not exceed the point size of the tallest word in the name of the firm. Okay, let's go down and see what that looks like. This is going to be using font size. So now you see, Kim, now we're using font size.
Okay.
So here's the E. So that's the largest letter. This is the letters in here.
Yep.
And we're matching it here.
Yep.
So that L, right? Another look at font size. Now, with this one, since this one's 140 point, you're going to go to the bigger size here, which is 180 point. And now you've got 180 point, 180 point. Yeah. Okay, so this is font sizing. Now, this is really interesting because look at this. You've got this S and this T. Mm-hmm. Way larger than the font down below. So you have, this is actually 420 point. Doesn't matter. So they're not saying that is outside of the realm. So I could have if I was making a Kim Ann, I could have a giant KA, but as long as the rest of the thing matched the 210, then we're legal.
Yep.
So you can see that and if anyone wants to see this, I'll share this. But you can see now when we use the word block sizing versus font sizing, what they're describing.
Yeah,
And
that was very helpful.
You can see how you can fluff it a bit too. What if I put a big bedazzlement between the agent name, my broker name, and my second tagline? I put a gigantic shape between those two, and I stretch that box out. You can see how, and so what we oftentimes do is we use block sizing mostly at 5-star. So we'll use from the top of the star down to the bottom of the real estate leaders. So we'll use our logo, and I can pull it up on a website here so we can look at it.
Yeah, provides a lot of flexibility when you do that.
Right. So an example, and I'll share this screen here, is and my goal when we're doing this is I'm always going to look to see which is the most advantageous for the realtor.
Okay.
Is it font sizing or block sizing? So in block sizing, you'd grab from the top of here or the top of here, down to the bottom of this S. And so this whole block becomes, so I could have a gigantic name here that looks much larger because it's all caps next to our logo, but I'm always going to look for how can I maximize the agent's name compared to the brokerage. So you have two options, and you only have to satisfy one of those tests, not both.
It's one or the other.
One or the other.
Got it. And you'll post that link because I have that
I'll
paper
share that.
somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, that was the exact one they produced back in 2018 or
Yes,
something. I
I remember it. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So that's very helpful. I think that makes it really easy to understand, right? And then Mary also shared some other notes with us about 5-stars advertising, because this comes up, right? Can I use black? Do I use green? Can I use blue? Can I use red? So
Yeah.
maybe this is a good time to talk about that.
Absolutely. So we are moving away from the two-tone logo, which is the green and the gray. We're moving away from that just because it's legibility issues on signage. The green, when you're taking two words that have different levels of contrast, it can reduce your ability to read it at a fast speed, like you're driving down the road at 55 miles per hour, which is why we always recommend that agents' names are contrasting the background. So on a white sign, we'd recommend using we want to use charcoal letters on a white sign versus green letters. Because on that background, that green gets harder for your eyes as you're driving past a house to stop and register the words that you're seeing.
Okay.
And so every time we release new signs, we test them in the wild. We print them out, we test them, we drive by them really fast to see if I can see, Tracy Johnson. How easily can I read it?
Okay.
So it's not like we just willy-nilly threw these things out there. We've really tried to make it as legible as possible. And you have to be willing to adjust from the web to print to billboards. You have to be willing to make some compromise to make sure it's legible in the medium it's being used.
Okay. So some of the requirements I asked Mary to send me, and I think it's a good time to review, is when I am putting out my marketing or my advertising, number one, 5-star logo must always be included. That's what this says here. So 5-star logo, are you saying the words or the words with the star? Or...
Well, we always like to use the word with the star, the 5-star, that logo, and we like to use it in charcoal, white, or green, solid colors. So if you're using an image, like let's say you're making an advertisement, you're using a picture of downtown Traverse City as your advertisement, and you want to put text over the top of it, we would probably recommend using the white logo with a transparent background so it looks like it's just floating there on the page. You wouldn't want to use a charcoal or green because that's going to start blending with colors and it's going to start getting mixed and mingled and become illegible.
Okay.
If you were using a white background, we would recommend the green font or the gray font. So there's best practices, and honestly, when we see agents doing their own advertisements, sometimes they're hitting it really well. Sometimes they maybe need a little bit of redirection. And ultimately, guys, if you're making your own advertisements and things like that, we understand if you want to just go with your own thing, as long as it's legal, we're probably going to approve it.
Okay.
But if we can help you at all, even just kind of nudge you in one direction to make it more legible or make it easier for your customers to see it, we want to help you look as good as possible. That's the whole goal here, is we want you to look your best at all times. And if you ever need a second eye on something you're creating, just tag me or Mary in and we'll absolutely give you just what we think. And hey, maybe you tweak this, or maybe if you adjust that a little bit, and we'll work with you on it.
Yeah, it's the beauty of having the in-house marketing team, because they're at our disposal.
Right. And I think the whole goal here is just so that when the public sees the sign, it doesn't look like I'm Kim Anderson Real Estate. It's Kim Anderson with 5-star real estate, right? It's just to avoid the blind ad and who's the broker and who's the agent. Is that right?
It's a very easy way to meet the requirements of the state of Michigan when you're advertising, because if you just spell 5-star real estate out, that's a lot of words, and so to match the size of your name, if you're going to use your name, you're going to fill half your screen up with the words 5-star real estate.
Right.
So it's actually in your best interest to use that logo, because you can use block sizing, and it's a nice little look in the corner. And by sizing it properly with somewhere on your ad, we can meet requirements and we can show you ways to get your name as large as possible.
So 2 questions. One is, say an agent wants to brand themselves. Now, I believe in branding and I have 5-star because public recognizes 5-star and it's a great brand. But say I wanted my logo and all of my marketing to be a seafoam green, or a blue or a red. Does 5-star allow that, or do we have to be white, charcoal, or green?
You know what, Kim, if you decided that your favorite color was purple, and you wanted every single thing you produced to be purple, you wore a purple suit daily, you wore purple glasses, you wore a purple watch, and it was like, oh, you're the purple realtor. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, that's a pretty good idea, because you become memorable, and wherever you go, everyone's like, oh, that's the purple lady, that's the purple realtor. That's a fantastic idea. And
big diamonds on my glasses.
I mean, seriously, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Simple little things like that are memorable, that start to create recognition, are fantastic ways to, so that's why when you talk about branding and marketing, it's not always a mark. It's not like a circle with a shape on it. It's not a thing. Marketing and branding is a feeling, and marketing and branding is repetition, and it's being memorable. It's not always about having a logo or something like that. But the truth is, Kim, you can have purple on your business cards. You can have a purple website. You can have purple postcards. You could have a purple car. But when it comes to the street signs, what I would recommend is you go with one of the white signs or one of the charcoal signs, and you find some way to accent that to your brand. We can't have a purple yard sign, but we can get close. We can get close.
So just accent it. That's where that new charcoal that I love has been incorporated, because black and white go with everything, and you can make that work, right?
Yep.
We have a couple of agents from our Ludington office that are utilizing this now that we've come out with the charcoal gray. They've added red to their color.
Yep.
And so whenever I'm driving between A and B and I happen to see that in the Ludington area, I know it's Jim and Marla.
Yep.
Okay. So another question I have is, what about social media and sharing? What are our requirements there? So say I have a new listing, it's my listing, and then we also wanted to talk about sharing other people's listings. So on my listing, I always share my listing, and then I say, call me at, there's my phone number requirement. And then I write Kim Anderson, 5-star real estate, 5787 Stadium Drive. Does an agent need to put that every single time?
Okay, this is a great question, and this comes down to association.
Okay.
This is an association situation on how what they write into their advertising rules, and because they do have some control over this, like you can't, like some associations say, no, you can't put your name in the bottom right-hand corner here. And then some say you can put your name in the bottom right-hand corner here. Well, many advertisers say, as long as the information in terms of brokerage, agent, all those legal requirements, as long as those are listed within one click online, that's considered legal. But what we're seeing on Facebook is that so many associations are dealing with Facebook and Instagram specifically, are dealing with people sharing listings all the time on Facebook and Instagram. And what they're doing is you're seeing more and more associations setting rules on how this can be done. The most common rule we see is if I was going to share Tracy's listing, they would ask that I would say listing courtesy of Tracy Johnson, 5-star real estate.
Okay.
You don't need to put an address, or a phone number necessarily. It's typically enough to just put that little Tracy Johnson 5-star real estate, listing.
Yeah, giving credit.
I'm giving credit because they can get all the information once they finally click through. The phone number, the broker address, all going to be listed per advertising law on the next screen.
Okay.
And some associations are saying you can't share someone's listing at all until you get permission first.
Right.
That's on the rare side. Those are the more strict associations, but that's rarer. Most of the associations will also say, if someone says, please remove my listing from your Facebook or Instagram page, they're asking that you comply.
Right. Yep. Yes.
So it comes down to an association. Again, I really wish that Michigan Realtors could get all those groups together. We could all come up with something that works for everybody, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think couple of takeaways. One is marketing department's glad to look at all ads, and it's really a great idea before you have a sign printed, before you have marketing printed, a placemat, run it over to Mary. Just say, hey, Mary, email it to her. Can you look at this? Does it look good? Before you spend a lot of money on print.
This is really common. We do get a lot of this now. Like we get people sending us pictures of car wraps. Hey, I'm doing an ad at the local restaurant. Does this work? And we are absolutely happy to look at anything that you have going out there in the wild, because the truth is, I can tell you that if Laura does take an advertising case, they make your life miserable.
We've been there, right, Paul?
We've been there multiple times.
Kalamazoo. We've been there, and it was.
We won the big. So we had one in particular case where someone was getting charged with an advertising violation by another realtor down the street.
Right.
That's how it always starts.
Yep.
And what happened was, without naming names, essentially, it was the main violation was not actually seen as a violation. We got around that. The violation that got them, and this is an important one, guys, when you get married and your name changes.
Yes.
As a member of Michigan Realtors, all of it, and having a licensing laws, you need to update Laura on your new last name if your last name has changed.
Right.
And by the way, it's okay to continue operating with an alias. Okay, that's okay. You can do that. You can operate as an alias. Like for example, if my name was Shooter, and I went by Shooter Carlson, I could put that on signs. It's okay. You can do that legally. We've seen where this is okay. But if let's say I got married to my wife and I took her last name, and I didn't notify Laura, so that's where so that wasn't even the initial complaint on this one person. That wasn't even the initial complaint.
Right.
That came out during the questioning, and so they'll dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, and they will get you if they find any violations at all, which most of us are probably going to be somewhat guilty of, because none of us are perfect. So anyways, but the fine I think was like $250.
Yeah.
But it was
more about the agent didn't want the mark on their record, and those become public, right?
Yeah. What about this one? What about this one, Paul? You've got a Facebook page, and it's not a business page, it's your personal page. But you are using your personal page to advertise your real estate. What components of licensing apply to your personal page? Can I just have on there my logo for my team name? Or do I need to have 5-star and that one click away for that phone number? So this is what we see a lot.
You will get hit for this too.
Yes.
They will look at your personal page because you really can't separate real estate activity because you hold the license. So you are the licensed individual, not your Facebook page, not your business page. You are the one carrying the license. It goes wherever you go.
Yep. So
if you have a personal page and you're advertising real estate there, and they go, I don't see your brokerage listed. So you'll want to make sure your brokerage is listed under employment. You'll want to make sure maybe the address is listed, or on your header. Put it right in the corner of here. 5-star real estate, address, phone number, whatever you want to put on there to hit those legal requirements, because we did just have an agent get hit by this too. And once the complaint was made, it was, let's look at your YouTube page. Let's look at your Instagram page. Let's look at your LinkedIn. Let's look at your Facebook. Let's look at your personal. Let's look at every single possible page he could do something on. They were looking for information on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't have to open that can of worms, don't, just put the basics on there and.
You're better off. I personally, I think you should market to your personal sphere. So I think that only advertising on a business page is from a return on investment perspective. I think your return on your investment only posting on a business page is going to be far, far less than talking to your sphere. Because on your business pages, if we're all being honest with ourselves, they're much smaller than our personal spheres.
Right.
And so, put your information on your personal page and just,
And the business page, I've always heard from marketing from our team, is a landing page, right? You want a landing page for Google, for Facebook. You want a LinkedIn as a landing page, but most of our interaction comes from our personal pages.
Yeah.
Right?
So we recommend but business pages are fine. We recommend a Google My Business page. So that way when someone Googles you, you have this really cool thing that shows up on the right-hand side and you look like a legitimate business on the right-hand side, which, shows reviews, and it's a good thing to do. And if you need help with that, reach out to Emma and Mary and we can talk to you about Google My Business.
Okay.
The reason I think a business page is okay, if you go into it with the proper expectations, I see a lot of people saying, I want to have a business page and I don't want to advertise to my friends and family. And I'm like, well, who's going to your business page then?
Yeah.
Who's there if not your family and friends in your sphere?
Yeah, those are the people that know you.
Yeah. And so I oftentimes scratch my head because I'm like, and by the way, you should know this, everyone should know this, that when you're advertising on your Facebook business page, they're limiting you to about 15% of the people who are liking that page are going to see it on a regular basis. So for example, if you have 200 people on your Facebook page on your business page, when you post something, an average of 30 people or less are going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So you are not talking to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So just know that. And if you want to begin talking to more people, you need to get, I think you should focus on your personal page and your personal Instagram pages where you have followers who are choosing to follow you and they want to follow you. So just something to consider. I think setting up a business page, like a landing page, Kim, I think what you just said was, so if you go to my business page, I'll have some interesting photos. I might have a couple of interesting things to say. I've got how to reach me. You could even set it up like it was like hey, you're looking for me? Reach me here. And you can find a way to make it look less like you're going to keep it active all the time. That's tough to do.
Right. Yeah, good stuff.
Good.
And then one last thing is we just want to make sure that you stay in touch with each board, whatever board you're in. I was helping an agent just before the call and there were some things they didn't know about their board.
Yeah.
And so it's real important. We know some, especially I know GCAR because I'm in GCAR. Paul's going to know Garrar and Tracy's going to know the east side, and we all know different. So just make sure that, so I asked this age, I said, yes, we need to do this and this, and just ask whoever at your board, your admin, do you have a list of what those rules are? Because they're really helpful and we do our best to manage all of those, but sometimes you might miss it when, so she didn't know and they give her a warning and so she's fixing it, but just make sure that like in GCAR, we do have to say listed by, we have to say the broker's name, we have to say the agent's name, and then there's an opt-out. So we are required and we've been taken to ethics because of this very situation. So some boards are stricter than others.
Yeah.
So we want to know what those rules are, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what we can see is there's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of ways that we can get ourselves in trouble. And I think we could spend more time talking about this, but at the end of the day, try to identify yourself correctly, right? Give the broker name, phone number. More information is better than less. So over identify, it can't hurt. I mean, why not wave the flag for 5-star in everything that you do? And the last thing I want to say is don't forget that your licensing law is following you wherever you are. Greg always talks about your license being on your forehead. It goes with you wherever you are. So whether you're on Instagram or Facebook, or you're sending a postcard, or you are, the sign in the front yard, it's there and your license never leaves you. So identify yourself correctly and don't forget licensing law is there.
Okay, we have one question. Tracy,
Yeah.
it was an excellent outro, and it's an excellent outro. It was good. So that's our actual outro. But Pete Wester says, hey, sometimes when I boost a post, it rejects it. Any idea why?
It's my worst nightmare.
So a couple
Happens every
of things.
time.
Happens all the time. And
all the time.
one of the reasons is because we are involved in housing,
Yep,
and housing has what's called like fair housing laws. Okay.
yep,
If we were advertising a pair of shoes, or if I was advertising like graphic design services, we would have so much more flexibility. They are hypersensitive when it comes to housing. So sometimes if you have too much text, like if you have text overlays, that will be difficult to get pushed through. We've discovered that a lot of text, like blocks of text that are flashing on the screen, they'll kick us out for that.
Yep.
If you
certain words too, like
Certain words?
family. I've used the word wet bar, and
Yep.
they won't allow any of those kinds of words.
it's weird. So Pete, that's one of the bigger things that you're gonna run into is you have to be careful, and you have to say less, and they're super trigger happy when it comes to reject. So they're gonna default to rejecting it because they don't want any more black eyes either.
Right.
So I think do you have the ability, Pete, when they reject you, to get an explanation of why?
no,
Okay.
no.
That's the most difficult part. You go back through your text and you're trying to rewrite it, take words out. But I think what you said best, Paul, was use as few words as possible. The less descriptive that you are, the better. And the easier your ad is going to be able to be pushed through. Let the photos speak for themselves, or the ad, the photos, whatever it is that you've put together, speak for itself.
Yep.
But I've had some where I never changed the text, never changed anything. It was, I think, a week ago Friday. I was in the office and Marissa came in. I just looked at her, I said, I've been rejected 4 times today. And she said, what does it say under housing? And so I'm trying to remember, it said you have to have housing checked and you have to agree to their policies. And I couldn't find the policies. So that's just, and I didn't have to change a thing on it. It was, they wanted something checked. And I think my pop-up was blocking it and I never could check it. And it just kept rejecting. She goes, call me. And that time I got accepted.
Yeah.
Because I think Facebook ads are great, especially with what's happening in the market right now. They're inexpensive. We can show our clients those boosts and the clicks, the number of views. And that's just a common problem, Pete, that we'll do our best to help you get through.
Cool. All right. Well,
All right. Thanks
Grace,
for coming on with us today.
so thanks everybody. Thanks,
Yeah.
team.
All right.
Take
All
care.
right. See ya. Have
Bye-bye.
a great day.